The annual shareholders meeting at Centennial Trust Bank was alive with whispers of old money and old grudges. I smoothed the lapel of my modest blazer while sitting quietly in the back row, my eyes drifting toward the front where my parents held court. My father, the bank's executive vice president of commercial lending, stood tall and confident, while my mother, ever the epitome of a banker's wife, exchanged pleasantries with their well-heeled acquaintances. "My daughter Claire is still tinkering with that small investment app," I overheard my mother say to her country club friends with a dismissive smile. "You know how young people are these days, throwing money at those newfangled platforms." If only they knew. Claire's little app portfolio was the seed that grew into Apex Ridge Capital, now one of the country's most sophisticated investment firms. She added, unaware I was right behind her. That firm has spent the last year quietly buying up Centennial Trust's shares through a web of shell companies. "Did you hear about Claire's latest gamble?" My older brother Jason, the bank's rising star in corporate finance, announced loudly, ensuring the nearby investors could hear. "She put her entire savings into some tech startup, probably another bubble waiting to burst, like all those meme stocks." I smiled to myself, recalling the $60,000 0 cents inheritance from Grandma that I had quietly invested 5 years ago, the same $60,000 0 cents my father called wasted because I refused to deposit it into his bank's savings account. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Emma, my chief operating officer. "Final share purchase complete. You now control 52% of Centennial Trust Bank." The legal team was poised for the announcement. "Still throwing money away on stocks?" Dad's voice was close behind me, his polished executive smile failing to mask his thinly veiled contempt. "The bank's paying a steady 3.2% on certificates of deposit now. That's how true wealth is built. Slow, steady, and secure." I thought back to those 5 years. While they believed I was simply gambling on volatile stocks, I had been meticulously building Apex Ridge Capital into a $15 billion 0 cents investment powerhouse. That very startup Jason had mocked? It went public last year, skyrocketing my initial investment into $120 million, 0 cents. That windfall was just one among many lucrative moves that fueled my strategic acquisition of the shares they guarded so fiercely. I was about to explain this when Jason interrupted. "Dad, the chairman's about to make the quarterly announcement," Jason said, a note of tension creeping into his voice. "There's talk of a major shareholder shift." My phone buzzed again. A press release was ready to go live. The Wall Street Daily had confirmed the scoop. Claire Bennett's net worth updated to $9 billion 0 cents following recent acquisitions. The chairman, Harold Mason, stepped up to the podium, his presence commanding the room. My father adjusted his tie, bracing for what he assumed would be just another routine meeting. "Distinguished shareholders," Mason began, his voice steady and clear. "Today we mark a historic turning point for Centennial Trust Bank. Over the past 12 months, a strategic investor has quietly acquired a significant portion of our shares. Someone with a visionary approach to banking and an unwavering commitment to modernize and strengthen our institution for the challenges ahead." Murmurs rippled through the room. I sat back, feeling the weight of years of unseen labor crystallize into this moment. My parents' faces tightened with disbelief as realization dawned. This strategic investor was me. While they had clung to old certainties and underestimations, I had transformed their world from the shadows, securing my place at the helm of Centennial Trust Bank. The era of Apex Ridge Capital was just beginning. Dad nodded with what I assumed was approval, probably imagining some old money investment firm stepping in. "Please join me in welcoming our new majority stakeholder," Chairman Mason continued, his voice steady but filled with gravity. "The founder and CEO of Apex Ridge Capital." I rose slowly, smoothing my blazer, the familiar calm settling over me. "Miss Claire Bennett." Mom's crystal water glass slipped from her delicate fingers, crashing against the polished marble floor. The sharp sound seemed to freeze the room. Dad's face paled visibly. Jason's mouth opened and closed silently, disbelief etched across his features. "Thank you, Harold." I said quietly, stepping toward the podium. Let's discuss how traditional banking must evolve. The bank's executive conference room, usually cold and impersonal, felt electric. Moments later, my family staggered in after the announcement, followed closely by the board of directors and senior management. The shock on their faces was unmistakable. "This can't be real," Jason muttered repeatedly, eyes glued to his phone. "Apex Ridge Capital, they're behind the recent Morgan Trust acquisition, the Pacific Financial merger," one of the board members whispered. "And 12 other major deals this year," another added. I took the chairman's seat, now mine by right. "Though Centennial Trust is special," I began, "it's not every day you get to buy out the bank that refused your small business loan 5 years ago." Dad gripped the back of a leather chair so tightly, his knuckles turned white. "The capital required to acquire controlling interest was approximately $4 billion, I said casually, letting the weight of that number settle over them. "That's a conservative estimate, given current market conditions." "Your shares alone, Dad, were worth quite a bit. Thanks for selling them last month, by the way. That last 2% really sealed my majority control." My phone buzzed in my pocket. A quick glance revealed a message from Emma, Goldman Sachs, calling about partnership opportunities. Another alert popped up. "Your father's trading records show he sold at the recent low." I smiled inwardly. Ironic, isn't it? All those Sunday dinners when Mom lectured me on prudent investing while preaching from the comfort of our oak-paneled dining room. Her perfect composure cracked as she whispered, "When you talked about your investment strategies, they were quite enlightening." I nodded politely. "Especially when Jason mocked my tech investments, all while exposing the bank's outdated digital infrastructure," I added. "It made due diligence much easier." Chairman Mason cleared his throat and turned to address the room. "Claire's vision for modernizing our operations is exactly what Centennial Trust Bank needs," he said, looking directly at me. "Her track record with financial technology integration is unparalleled." "Technology integration?" Jason scoffed loudly, unable to hide his bitterness. "She's barely out of her 30s and already revolutionizing banking." A few board members exchanged approving glances. Mom's lips pressed into a thin line, eyes darting between me and my brother. The room crackled with tension as the reality sank in. I looked out over the shareholders gathered, knowing this was more than just a takeover. It was a new era, one built on vision, innovation, and quiet perseverance. And finally, a long overdue reckoning. If you're captivated by Claire's rise from underestimated outsider to powerful bank owner, don't miss what happens next. Subscribe now and be the first to witness how she transforms an entire industry while facing the fiercest challenges yet. Chairman Mason nodded and continued. Apex Ridge's AI-driven investment platform processes more daily transactions than Centennial Trust Bank has handled in its entire history. I stepped forward and pulled up our latest projections on the large screens around the room. First, Centennial Trust's current technology is about 15 years behind the curve. Your mobile app has a 1.2-star rating. Your cybersecurity? I shook my head with a hint of a smile. Let's just say it's fortunate I bought you before someone with worse intentions did. My phone buzzed again. SEC filing complete. Your appointment as chairwoman officially recorded. JP Morgan CEO requesting a meeting. Dad finally found his voice, his tone sharp with disbelief. "The board won't stand for this. This is a hostile takeover." I laughed softly. "Hostile? Dad, I bought these shares on the open market, some of them from you, remember? Taking profits before the dip. You called it." The board members shifted uneasily in their seats. One senior director cleared his throat and said, "Ms. Bennett's proposal for technological overhaul and market expansion is compelling. The projected revenue increases alone are hard to ignore." Jason cut in abruptly. "She doesn't understand banking. She's just a what?" I interrupted, clicking to display Apex Ridge's portfolio on the screens behind me. "A woman who turns $60,000 0 cents into $9 billion 0 cents. I said firmly, letting the room absorb the statement. "Who saw the future of finance while you clung to obsolete methods." Or just the daughter, who wasn't considered banking material. The room fell into heavy silence as the magnitude of the situation finally sank in. The bank they thought would be their legacy was now controlled by the daughter they dismissed as financially naive. I glanced at my watch. The press conference is in an hour. The Wall Street Daily would be leading with the headline, Apex Ridge's Claire Bennett, the hidden hand reshaping American banking. Mom dabbed her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief, her voice soft and strained. Darling, we were only trying to protect you from financial mistakes. Like what? I asked coolly. Like missing the cryptocurrency boom you predicted, or the fintech revolution I invested in, or maybe like selling bank shares at their lowest point because you didn't realize who was buying them. At that moment, Emma entered, carrying a stack of folders. The transition team is ready, Miss Bennett, and the internal memo outlining executive changes has been drafted. Jason stood up sharply. Executive changes? Of course. I smiled, a quiet confidence settling over me. You didn't think I'd keep the same leadership that's been driving this bank into technological obsolescence, did you? Don't worry, we're bringing in experts who know how to innovate, who can turn Centennial Trust into a powerhouse for the future. The old guard looked stunned. Their era was ending. And the new one, my ERA, was just beginning. I hear Robin Hood is hiring, I murmured to myself the next morning as I stood in my real office, the entire top floor of Apex Ridge Capital's gleaming headquarters. The skyscraper towered over Centennial Trust Bank's stately but aging building, making it look like a quaint historic landmark. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed a panoramic view of the city's financial district, the very heart of the revolution I was quietly leading. Ms. Bennett, Marcus said, entering with a tablet in hand. The global press is assembled downstairs. Your family is here, waiting in the lobby with the bank's executive team. I smiled, recalling the countless times they had made me wait in that same cold, marble lobby when I tried to introduce modern investment strategies. Send them up, I said. They arrived looking painfully out of place amid the sleek AI displays and digital tickers lining my office walls. The condescending smirks I had endured were gone, replaced by expressions that shifted between fear and desperation. Before we begin, I said, activating the neural network displays, let's take a look at what modern banking really looks like. Real-time data flooded the screens, AI-driven trading algorithms, blockchain transactions, predictive market analyses, each graph and figure a stark reminder of how far behind Centennial Trust had fallen. Your automated systems process, Michael muttered, staring wide-eyed at the numbers. More transactions per second than your entire bank handles in a month, I corrected. Actually, per minute. While you were bragging about your corner office, I was busy building the future of finance. Those little apps you mocked, they're now managing trillion-dollar portfolios. My phone buzzed. A message from Elon Musk. Brilliant integration of AI in banking. Dinner next week. Want to discuss Tesla banking platform partnership. Mom sank slowly into a chair, her designer banking suit suddenly looking outdated. All those investment ideas you dismissed in board meetings? Worth billions now, I said softly. The crypto portfolio you laughed at? Valued at $3 billion, 0 cents. The fintech startups Dad rejected loans for? Most are now our partners. Even that ridiculous NFT platform Jason mocked helped finance one of my smaller office buildings. Marcus re-entered. Miss Bennett, the World Economic Forum panel is ready for your virtual keynote. Warren Buffett will be attending online as well. Dad's head shot up sharply. But he never invests in banks these days, he murmured. I smiled, finishing his thought. He does when they're reinventing the entire financial system. Speaking of which, I pulled up Centennial Trust's internal data. Let's talk about your technological infrastructure. Or, rather, the glaring lack thereof. Screens filled with detailed reports, security vulnerabilities, system inefficiencies, countless customer complaints about online banking failures. Jason swallowed hard. This, I said, is why Apex Ridge Capital is here, to transform not just the bank, but the entire future of finance. Years of technological neglect were laid bare in harsh digital clarity. I clicked to enlarge the data on the screens. Your core banking system, I continued, is older than I am. Your mobile app has fewer features than my very first Robinhood account. And your cybersecurity? I shook my head with a wry smile. Well, let's just say it's miraculous you haven't been hacked yet. Jason stood abruptly, his banking expertise suddenly feeling obsolete. But our traditional customers are dying out, he argued. I cut in firmly. While your older clientele fades, younger generations are moving billions through digital platforms you barely understand. Did you know Centennial Trust doesn't even have a crypto desk? I asked, letting that hang in the room like a challenge. My phone buzzed again, a message from BlackRock Co., requesting partnership meeting, Fed chairman seeking your input on digital currency framework. I glanced around the room. Dad's voice was low, almost defeated. Your position as VP of Commercial Lending will be automated by next quarter. I confirmed. AI can assess loan applications more accurately and faster than any human now. Though, I'm sure your country club connections will land you somewhere, probably at one of the other outdated banks we're planning to acquire. The room fell into stunned silence, decades of banking tradition crumbling around them like dust. Their prestigious institution was about to become unrecognizable to its old guard leadership. This transformation begins today, I declared, activating more displays. Centennial Trust is being integrated into Apex Ridge's digital ecosystem. Everything changes. The technology, the culture, even the name. Mom looked up, tears threatening her mascara. The Bennett banking legacy, I said softly, will be remembered as the family that resisted the future until their daughter forced them into it. I paused, letting the words sink in. Though I suppose I should thank you. Every time you dismissed my ideas, you motivated me to prove them elsewhere. The heavy wooden doors swung open as my global technology team filed in, their confident strides contrasting sharply with my family's bewildered expressions. International finance reporters trailed behind them, cameras flashing, capturing every moment. The new era of banking starts now, I said, standing tall. You can either adapt to a world where financial power flows from technological innovation, not golf course connections, or you can step aside. I smiled slightly. Though I should mention, Apex Ridge now owns controlling interests in most of your backup career options, too. My phone buzzed one final time. The message made me laugh. China's central bank requesting consultation on digital currency implementation. Also, your brother's executive parking spot has been reassigned to the AI server room. Your sister's right, Harold Mason said quietly to Jason. We've been measuring banking success by obsolete metrics. Not obsolete, I corrected gently. Just insufficient. Modern banking isn't about marble columns or mahogany desks, I said, voice steady. It's about processing power and algorithmic precision. I took a deep breath, preparing for the press conference. Oh, and about those Sunday family banking discussions? I added with a grin. They'll continue, but now you'll be learning from me, assuming you can keep up with the technology. Dad adjusted his tie one last time, a nervous habit from a dying era. Claire, he said quietly, we never knew. I met his eyes, seeing a flicker of respect beneath the shock. Now you do. If Claire Bennett's journey from underestimated outsider to banking visionary inspires you, please subscribe and join this community of forward thinkers. Your support helps me share stories of resilience and innovation that challenge the status quo. Drop a comment to tell me what part of my story resonates with you, whether it's overcoming doubt, embracing technology, or standing firm in your vision. Remember, success often means daring to be different and proving your worth when others won't see it. Stay bold, keep learning, and never let anyone define your potential. Together, we're shaping a future where innovation leads the way.